Welcome to the fourth module of the course, Information and Communications Technology. The title of this module is Multimedia and Virtual Reality. By the end of this module, students should be able to explain multimedia, including their characteristics, affordances, and constraints in education. They should be able to reflect on virtual reality and its applications in education. To get started, what is multimedia? Multimedia is the use of multiple forms of media, such as text, images, audio, and video, to create a cohesive and interactive learning experience. In other words, multimedia encompasses those resources used for instruction that include one or more media, such as graphics, video animation, image, and sound, in addition to textual information. The characteristics of multimedia include a lot of things. Number one is interactivity. Multimedia allows users to interact with and manipulate the content rather than just passive receiving it. Another one is richness. It is rich in terms of the multiple components it can combine together. The third one there is non-linearity. And by non-linearity, I mean multimedia allows users to navigate and access the content in a non-linear fashion rather than following a strict linear path. Another characteristic of multimedia is multisensory experience. It creates avenue for this multisensory experience, the sight, the touch, and the likes. Then it is time-based in nature. Multimedia often involves the use of time-based media such as animation and video, which has a duration and a temporal progression. Another characteristic of multimedia is the fact that it is dynamic, it is contingent on technology, it is accessible, and it is also adaptable. By adaptable here, I mean multimedia can be used in various fields and industries, not only in education, but also in entertainment, business, and many more. Okay, so what are now the affordances of incorporating multimedia in the teaching and learning process? We have the pedagogical strengths and visual aids. These are affordances. These are the things that emerge when you interact or when you use the multimedia in your lesson. It enhances your pedagogical strength. What I mean by this, the pedagogical strength of multimedia is that it uses the natural information processing ability that we already possess as humans. Our eyes, our ears, in conjunction with our brain, form a formidable system for transforming meaningless sense data into information. Okay, great. We can also talk about engagement and accessibility. These are also affordances of multimedia. For being engaging here, we mean multimedia can make learning more interactive and engaging, helping to hold students' attention and improve retention. Reward examples. With the use of multimedia, you can incorporate reward examples into your teaching, and then you can also enhance collaboration. Okay? Then we have self-paced learning and practice and feedback. With the use of multimedia, we can tailor the teaching and learning process into individualistic version. All right, and also you can make practice and feedback easier with the use of multimedia. It can also provide the language support, then cultural exposure. By cultural exposure here, I'm talking about the fact that multimedia can make it easy for you to expose your students to different cultures and perspectives, helping them to develop a global perspective of the learning context. Then, of course, affordance of multimedia is the flexibility. Apart from the affordances, we also have some constraints of using multimedia in our classrooms. The first two are the multimedia requires high-end computer systems and limited access to technology and lack of trained personnel. These are important constraints, especially when it concerns the developing countries, where you have limited number of experts or trained personnel that can actually use this multimedia or enhance or harness the power of this multimedia in the classroom. And of course, it can be costly. Okay, and yet also can also be limited to local content. Perhaps you want to use multimedia, but it's not available in your local language, or you cannot tailor it to the culture that you are dealing with at the moment. Then, of course, language barriers. Yeah, the language available may not be what your student understand, and it could be self-paced learning. Okay, and here we are talking about this as a constraint and at the same time as an affordance. If the learning is individualistic, then how will you create this a kind of community of students? Okay, so in which they will interact with each other. So at the same time, self-paced learning could be both affordance and at the same time it could be a constraint. Then there's limited bandwidth and power supply. Epileptic power supply is a challenge in developing countries, and most of these multimedia gadgets actually require electricity, and also limited resources is another constraint of using multimedia in the classroom. Okay, perfect. What are now the multimedia tools? Okay, these are the various bits and pieces that are combined together to make the final multimedia project. Then you have quite a number of them. You have the text files, your Microsoft Word, you have the drawing files, your clip arts, and other similar files. Then you have the photographs and pictures, the sound, the recordings. All this can be put together to make videos and animation for multimedia use in the classroom. Some examples of multimedia that we can count. So we have the desktop publishing, the Adobe InDesign, the Adobe PageMaker, the Microsoft Publisher, and Office. All these are multimedia examples because they combine a lot of things, or through them, you can combine a lot of media to make your project. Okay, then the presentation software, the Microsoft PowerPoint, the Office presentation, the Prezi, and so on and so forth. These are presentation software that can enhance your presentation skills and make it more engaging for your learners or for your listeners even. The portable document format files, the PDF files, as these are also generally called, are produced from other documents that have been created in other programs. Okay, so most desktop publishing programs as well as word processors and presentation programs enable you to export the finished file as a PDF document. So the word export here means that you can convert from your Word document, for instance, into your PDF file. Okay, so as for the advantage of the PDF file, I also include that there for you. It is very advantageous. So there are so many things we can talk about it. All right. So let's move to the second segment of the lesson, which has to do with the virtual reality. So virtual reality is a technology that allows users to immerse themselves in a computer-generated environment. It has the potential to revolutionize the way we interact with the world, both for entertainment and for practical applications. Okay, one of the most exciting aspects of virtual reality is its ability to transport users to places and experiences they might not be able to access otherwise. For example, in virtual tourism, simulating dangerous or difficult scenarios for professionals, therapeutic purposes, and as well as educational tools. So these are a lot of areas through which you can apply virtual reality. In the reasons they are difficult to access, but the with of virtual reality, you can create experience for your learners. Okay. As for the applications of virtual reality in education, so we can identify the distance learning and practical training. So distance learning here, we talk about virtual reality can be used to create interactive, immersive online classes and tutorials, allowing students to learn from anywhere at any point in time. Okay, and with the use of virtual reality, you can also provide practical training. So VR, virtual reality, I mean, can be used to simulate real-world scenarios such as operating on a patient or flying a plane, allow students to gain hands-on experience without the risk of world consequences. Okay, all right. Another application could be the science and history education, the language learning. So all this can be enhanced with the use of virtual reality. Okay. When we talk about the science and history education, VR can be used to create interactive simulations of historical events or scientific concepts, making them more engaging and easier to understand for students. And of course, VR can also be used to create immersive environment for language learners, allowing them to practice speaking and listening in a naturalistic settings. You can also apply virtual reality to cater for special needs in education and for career exploration. Okay, and technical and vocational training can also be provided with the use of VR. At the same time, art and design education can also be an application of VR in education. Then, as we have mentioned the application, we should also at least highlight or at least enumerate the limitations or the challenges that you can face when you are incorporating VR in your learning. It could be cost, okay, and it could be technical difficulties. Limited content may not be, the content may not be available. The lack of standardization, accessibility, health and safety. Okay, limited interactivity and limited assessment opportunities. We can mention difficulty in replicating real-world scenarios, difficulty in scaling, could be some challenges that you can face when you are incorporating virtual reality into your teaching and learning. You should be aware of this then until we meet next time. Thank you.